After this insightful session, we quickly move on to a keynote session, which is going to be on democratizing payments, BHIM's role in UPI-driven Bharat empowerment. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, UPI has redefined digital transactions in India, and BHIM has been instrumental in this financial revolution. In this keynote, we will explore how BHIM ensures secure, transparent, and frictionless payments, empowering MSMEs, merchants, and everyday users, and also strengthening interoperability for a unified digital payment ecosystem. So let's welcome Ms. Lalita Natraj, CEO, NPCI BHIM, to share her expertise. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Ms. Lalita Natraj here.
Hi, very good afternoon, good morning to all of you, actually. I represent NPCI BHIM. We are a newly formed subsidiary of NPCI, and we are a part of the NPCI group. Before I take you through what is it that's there in the charter for us, I would like to tell you about what we have understood as opportunities over the last few months, over extensive customer discussions and conversations that we've had, and the opportunity landscaping that we see. If you look at how the digital ecosystem has moved in the country, right? We have Aadhaar, we have DigiLockers, we have UPI per se exploding. We have the Account Aggregator, which allows the customers to aggregate information and get real-time underwriting done. We also have marketplaces like the government e-marketplaces and the ONDC, which are democratizing commerce. So it's an all-round 360-degree movement that is taking place, and payments is at the core of many of these, right? So you lend digitally, you end up obviously collecting digitally. You buy e-commerce, you obviously have payments at the core of it. So it's extremely important for us to cater to all segments of the society, because each of these digital initiatives cater to various segments of the population. For example, an account aggregator would always look at low-ticket digital lending. So low-ticket digital payment is extremely important for them to pay back what they have gained. So every single area is exploding, and there is an opportunity to create new products, new experiences, and new ways of paying and using each of these digital infrastructure. What have been the key reasons for growth and advancements? Of course, continuous investment in technology by NPCI and also the payment providers and various banks, which have been a part of this ecosystem since the very beginning. Government initiatives around incentivization, and interestingly, Dilip also spoke about how incentivization to the consumer and the merchant is extremely important for us to keep this going. Interoperability, UPI, all of you know, has got a 6-party model. Any app, any handle, any bank, any receiver bank, and the payment just goes through seamlessly. Democratization and continuously looking at unexplored segments through processes like UPI 123, Conversational Payments, Lite. We had the previous 2 sessions talking about how a core banking load needs to be reduced, and some of these innovations are a very important catalyst in that direction. While all of us feel and understand that it's probably, that UPI non-users are probably not digitally savvy, that's really not the right finding that we have, right? They are digitally savvy. They consume digital content. For example, even if I take my parents, right? They consume digital content. They get a YouTube on WhatsApp. They're happy to open it and see. They consume literature digitally, right? But it's just about that first step of making a digital payment that is bothering them. And that's exactly what we've been studying as opportunities to understand how do we catalyze and go to the last mile to take care of some of these inhibitions and fears. And it's not that non-UPI users don't use other modes of digital transaction. They do use other modes of digital transaction, which could be a credit card, which could be a debit card. So, and we'll come to why they are a little bit apprehensive when it comes to UPI. We always thought, more features loaded on the app, more features given to the customer, multiple, options to the customer will be a great thing. No, but that's not. It's just about trust, security, simplicity, and convenience. So, if I deep dive into the three main challenges that all of us will have to solve, because each one of us is an ecosystem player in some form or the other, either as a bank or as a payment app or as a network player like an NPCI. It's obviously around trust and awareness, which is why if you see in the last few weeks, there've been heavy investment on the UPI Chalega campaign, which is an annual education campaign, and there are multiple education videos put up by both the networks and the banks from time to time about not sharing OTPs and various things. And fraud is getting a lot of focus because it is important to take care of it, given the fact that the margins are extremely less in the entire payment system, and the consumer confidence should not be eroded. With every new innovative digital instrument, there will always be innovative ways of social engineering, which we will at all points in time try to take care of and solve for. Demographic divide, there is still an internet availability problem in many places. While yes, they do consume digital content, I'm not denying that, but you have a little bit of a lag in a digital content, they will be fine with it. But if you have a lag in an online transaction, money gets debited and the other side does not get a call back, they do have a problem because it's trust and money getting eroded, right? Many of them still use cash. They still have a worry that, the other guy may not accept. It's always okay to have a plan B. So the consumption of cash per se is not really falling. So if you see the statistics, there has been more money printed, there is more cash. Of course, there's a lot of education that needs to be done on the process of setting up UPI linking, which is including that how do I go and link my. It's happening too quick for me to realize what's happening, is what many users say, right? So sometimes, should I actually bring in interventions and frictions to say, this is what you're doing next? Some people might prefer that, right? They have problems, they forget PIN. But they're not happy to do a Face ID authentication all the time. So how do we solve for some of these as codes and experiences? And of course, using education and last mile is something that's extremely important for all of us to handle as we go along. So broadly, the challenges that people have been seeing and we've been reading from various reports is, of course, frauds. Data leakage may or may not be connected with payments, but in general, I think I aggregated my account on that platform, and after that I have been getting a set of calls. May or may not be directly linked, but you'll always have a last attribution to what you did in the recent past, right? The only way this can be sorted is through awareness, and like I said, building fraud or awareness as a code. You are doing this for the second time. Are you sure? Do you want to repeat the payment? You are doing a payment as you're getting a call from somewhere else. I'm hoping that, so this is one very nice way of creating induced friction to say, is everything fine, right? So that's something that all of us are trying to work on, rather than how a customer comes and complains to say that, this happened to me. Before that, you're on a public Wi-Fi. Are you sure you want to log into the app? You seem to be having something which is screen mirroring. Are you sure you want to open the app at the same time? So how can we foolproof and have more and more codes proactively in the way the journey and the experiences are being archived is something that's becoming extremely important. And of course, the regulator and various entities, including MHA, DFS, have been continuously working on making fraud reporting easier, available, and also accessible to many. We went through the same cycle when, CIBIL or credit reporting was there. But at that time, it was about, should I contribute as a bank? Should I contribute as a financial player? But the good thing there was the definitions of, delayed payment was very clear. But the definition of fraud is still not very clear, right? It's very subjective. You might end up reporting me as a fraudster, but actually I might be a victim. So it requires a lot of understanding of the process, understanding of the nuances to really go and term somebody as a fraud, report them and landmark their account, because it's a huge deterrent for the next step forward. And when you start punishing victims, which is what I think Mr. Venkat was alluding to in the previous discussion also, that you have false positives. You start punishing victims and the confidence is eroded. You don't punish, then there are frauds. So it's a very fine line. It will take time, but there are multiple players who are working on it to create awareness, to create bureaus, to create contribution to the fraud repository. And we saw this in some of the announcements that came in the recent past also. So, like I said, risk scoring, how do we get into behavioral early warning systems? How do we work with fintechs and emerging players who've seen more than what we have probably seen, because we as a network or we as an app confine ourselves to a small payment world, but there is more than payments. And I've been in banking for a very long time. It actually starts from a wrong KYC to a wrong onboarding to a wrong transfer of money. And then, this is just a railroad which is being used. So the end-to-end understanding of the entire life cycle and foolproofing that becomes extremely important. On the authentication layer, there are multiple solves that have been done to move away from, let's say, a debit card PIN process to an Aadhaar OTP process to now a face authentication is getting explored. And multi-layer authentication is also coming in, which people can put for transactions which are a particular value and above. So if you look at the demographic divide, it is again around availability of or the density of Wi-Fi's and internets which are available, which we will see how to tackle for using things like Lite, which was just spoken about, which is the offline payments. Conversational payments is something that is really picking up specifically for categories which are around gas bills and other things, right? So you basically make a call to book a gas, and by the end of it, you also put a PIN to make and authorize a payment. So it's a very secure railroad. This is also being adopted for things like electricity bills, etc., by network players, and this will address a part of the population who feel that, I don't want to open my phone to do the payment because I don't know whether I'm doing it right or not. There are a lot of complex and illegal products which have been taken down, apps which have been taken down. So there's continuous screening and monitoring which is happening. And before we launch any product, there is a scrutiny of, are we showing the right terms and conditions? Are we showing the right information? In fact, so much so that at the cost of having zero differentiation, most of the payments app that you will see will have predictable next screens, which is important because you want to make sure that the experience is uniform to a certain extent so that it is fraud-proofed or fool-proofed end-to-end. So some of the initiatives that the regulator has taken and the bills that are there and initiatives by RBI and NPCI I have just put up here. And this is a continuous ongoing process, and the entire ecosystem will contribute to it, and we will make sure that the unaddressed concerns or the unaddressed frauds or the unaddressed inhibitions to use these payments will continue to be addressed. UPI Lite I just spoke about. This was the other product which was launched in the GFF, which is UPI Circle, which is about allowing another secondary user to make a payment. And this is about getting them started on payments, but it's like a try and buy kind of a delegation. This will be rolled out to many apps in the coming few weeks and months. There are voice-generated payments, which are conversational payments, which are also available for a particular section of the population, depending upon the use case and adaptation. So, in a small value transaction, generally people have no inhibitions to try out UPI. Yes, it is going to cause a little bit of a burden on the core banking system of the banks, which is why processes like UPI Lite have been introduced. So people are very happy using it for small value transactions. Medium transactions, yes, it does save the effort. There are also users who are a little bit divided between medium value transactions and high value transactions because they feel that using a credit card builds a credit score. which is why products like a rupee on credit card, a credit line on UPI is also given prominence, so that when you say that, you know what, when I pay, I need my score to be built. Yes, there are credit instruments on UPI for you to take care of it. Obviously, in debit, you will not be able to do it. The big transactions is where, you know, there's a little bit of hesitation ki, if my payment does not go, what happens? Right? So there are chargeback, there are dispute resolution mechanisms available, but I think there is a continuous, you know, ironing out, monitoring, looking at technical declines, as the earlier panel spoke about. And, you know, we will also try to make sure that the consumer has the confidence to say, you know what, if the money is not debited, it will come back to you. If not credited to the other party, it will come back to you. So, what are we looking at as a BHIM app? So we are yet another payments app now, right? So, and the main thought process for us is, having looked at and studied all these and got all these inferences, how do we make a very, very simple, clear, uncluttered UI UX for the consumer, make it available in as many languages as we can, continuous education and awareness. We will have to partner with the banks to make sure that as we take some of these products to the end consumers, how we can use you know, the bank's network to help us leverage some of these products. How do we also use our technology to power the bank's mobile banking applications to make sure that they are able to also serve the customers at the same pace as any of our apps do. We are and we will continue to partner with a lot of players who will take us help us take the payments to the last mile. Because the last mile of fear, let's say a self-help group, is always you know, touched by the last mile, and that one good or bad word really has a huge network effect on them. So the last mile connect, last mile reach, and last mile confidence building is extremely important for us, and we will focus on this as one of our prime pillars. And over the next few months and years, we expect to open up a lot of opportunities for partnerships and try and grow the ecosystem specifically for the tier 2 and tier 3 markets. So that's about it from my side. I will engage with you all offline if there are any questions, and thank you so much for the opportunity. I'll engage offline, that's fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ma'am, requesting you to stay back. We would love to felicitate you here. So requesting Vikrant sir to kindly present the memento.